Hi, everyone. So I've got you for about 30 minutes today. I'm going to start off with a stat. 21,000 is a stat I'm going to start off with. Now, in the time that I've got you here today, that's roughly how many sales we think will be generated through the affiliate channel in the UK. So think about that, 21,000 sales every half an hour of every hour of every day of every month across the course of the year. So we're a really powerful driver of sales. So what I wanted to do today was try and bring some of the data points that we collected in our annual survey from in May to life and really create like a bit of a blueprint for you. So the data is really powerful, but data in itself is quite two-dimensional. So what I wanted to try and do today was bring some of those points out and bring them to life a little bit with kind of 4 key areas that I think are ways that it requires some work. There's work for us all to do, and we all will play a part in that, but using that data to try and bring about positive change for the industry. So a little bit about me. I've been in affiliate marketing for about 25 years. 2/3 of that time I spent at AWIN. So this area is very familiar to me because the office is just down the road. In that, when I joined AWIN, there were 35 people in the company. When I left, there were 1,400. So that kind of gives you an idea of the growth of the industry in that time. But in that time, I obviously grew with the company. I did a variety of roles, data compliance, automation, and I was also twice chair of the Affiliate Marketing Council. And the Affiliate Marketing Council was a group of companies that came together, and we wanted to collaborate. So it's competitors coming together to identify key challenges within the industry and about how we could tackle them. One of the things that we did that I was most proud of was the first size of the industry study, which is kind of similar to the research that we do now. And we also released some codes of conduct as well around voucher codes, downloadable software, tracking best practices. And when I left AWIN in 2023, I spoke to a variety of companies, and we decided to come together and fund the Affiliate and Partner Marketing Association, which is the UK's first and only trade association for our industry. So what's the APMA? We're a not-for-profit organisation, so the money that we collect, we spend. We sit at the heart of the industry. We try and represent the industry. We advocate for the industry. And ultimately, what we want to do is try and bring more additional revenue into the channel. We currently have around about 50 paying members. Advertisers can join for free. Now, when I was putting together the idea for the APMA, we ran 4 workshops, one for advertisers, one for publishers, one for agencies, and one for networks. And I posed them a straightforward question, which is, if you had a trade association advocating for you, what's the one thing that it could do that would help you or your business to perform better? And inevitably, when you're dealing with lots of companies, you get lots of different answers. And this is kind of a bit of a word map of all the different things that people wanted us to do. And what we've tried to do is incorporate that into the first-year roadmap and then the second-year roadmap, which we're currently on. Now, one of the things within that is research. And for me, as a data person, research is incredibly important. And one of the reasons is from this quote from Peter Drucker, which kind of pretty much encapsulates everything. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it. And it would be, and for me, the research was the building blocks, right? If we know what our industry is worth, if we know what our industry looks like, it's much easier for us to go out and talk about it and secure additional budgets. So one of the first things we did was a quantitative and a qualitative piece of research last year. And we released the data in October. So we went out to 12 affiliate, well, we actually went out to more, but we got data back from 12 affiliate networks and platforms, kind of the major ones in the UK. We also collected eBay data. They gave us their data via one of their platforms. Amazon will never give you their numbers. However, we worked with a consultant who had quite intimate knowledge of the Amazon affiliate program in general, and they were very, very helpful in helping us to model their numbers. But about it's closer to 95% of the data that we had was actually submitted data. We knew that it wasn't the whole size of market. We focused on what I would kind of call core affiliate marketing or e-commerce affiliate marketing. We did capture some gaming, gambling, and lead gen if it was captured by those networks, but we didn't go out to kind of specifically capture that data additionally. We also didn't collect agency fees, and we didn't model additional programs. So what we're kind of looking at is a decent chunk of money, but it's kind of a conservative number. So when we released the data in October, as I say, we did both the qualitative piece of research, which I'm going to touch on a couple of points later, and the quant number as well, which the quant number is really, really important. The IAB in the UK released a partial survey of the affiliate industry, and what we were able to say is that they actually underreported the size of our channel by £500 million. That's spend, so that is the amount of money that brands are spending on their affiliate programs. One of the things that, and obviously I'm always looking at kind of different data points that are kind of, nice hooks to go out and talk about. And one of the things that we were able to say is that per capita, the UK affiliate channel is bigger than the US. And I don't know, there always used to be a stat, I think it was £1 in £7 is spent in Tesco in the UK. And I was looking for kind of one of those golden nuggets. And really the one that really leapt out to me was that 10% or £1 in £10 that is spent on e-commerce in the UK, it actually goes through an affiliate link. So we wanted to repeat that data, and we wanted to do it a bit earlier, October, because we captured the data, but for years 21, 22, and 23. So we wanted to capture 24 data. We wanted to do it as soon as possible. So we asked the networks again. We went out to all the same networks. We got one additional network alongside those 12. And we captured the data at the start of the year, and we released all of the data back in May. We just did a quant survey this time round, but we did collect some additional data points as well. So the headline stats for 24 are that the affiliate channel is brands are spending around about £1.7 billion on the affiliate channel. And that represents a 9% year-on-year increase. Pretty decent, not quite double figures, but 9%, still pretty impressive, especially when you consider that the UK economy is really struggling for kind of any growth at the moment. Some other stats, or slight formatting issue there, but I mentioned the 21,000 sales. That pretty much equates to almost 1 million sales a day that are being tracked through the affiliate channel. Return on investment, we know that ROI is a really, really strong card that we can play from an affiliate perspective. And we're looking at a return on investment of around about £16 return for every £1 invested. £19 billion revenue, that is the amount of money that is generated for UK brands. So again, 10% of e-commerce. It's around about £1 in £7 of online travel as well. So it's an even more compelling figure if you work in the travel space. So I also wanted to kind of overlay it with some general data that's available from the IAB. So this combines, the top figure is the APMA data, the rest of the data is IAB data. So retail media gets a lot of media coverage at the moment, and we're actually currently in a place where the affiliate channel, despite no one really talking about us, it actually accounts for a considerable more amount of revenue than is invested in retail media. How did we stack up against some other IAB stats? So the IAB, they never name who these companies are, but it's pretty obvious. It's Meta, it's Google, etc. They separate out the top 5, and they look at the top 5 growth, who I think account for around about 3/4 of all digital spend in the UK. They always do well. Obviously, people are investing directly in those platforms and continue to do so. But they then separate that out into the next biggest 5 and the rest of market. So we kind of feel like we should compare ourselves. And actually, we're bang in line with where the IAB is projecting digital growth. So we're holding our own. We're not necessarily exceeding that figure, but we're holding our own. However, there are kind of economic headwinds coming our way. So Donald Trump is obviously creating issues for everybody everywhere, and that was the tariff issues were blamed for this headline from the FT from Q1, which said that UK advertisers cut spending for the first time in 4 years on tariff turmoil. Now, this is slightly sensational because this is everything to do with advertising and marketing, and actually the same report says that digital is expected to grow. However, if we can achieve that 9%, it would be for 2025, it would be fantastic. My hunch is that we will continue to grow, but we'll continue at a lower level. So the challenge we have is that 2025, I think, is going to be a crunch year. So how do we mitigate that? One additional point, which I haven't included in this presentation, but I was thinking about it yesterday, is I'm not sure how many people saw WPP's announcement last week. They issued a profit warning. So WPP account for around about 30% of all global advertising and marketing spend. and they issued a profit warning. Their share price dropped 15%. It was the worst performer on the FTSE 100 last week. And one of the reasons that they blamed their poor performance and their profit warning on was the fact that brands are now increasingly ignoring and shunning big media agencies because they want to work with partners direct, they want to work with performance and ROI-focused advertising opportunities. And again, that's a real golden opportunity and a good way, I think, hopefully, of framing what I'm going to present to you today. So how do we continue to grow the industry? What I'm going to do today is present 4 areas that I think, some are easier than others, but 4 areas that extracting some of the data from our research that I've kind of tried to evolve into points that I think that we can all hopefully support and get behind. And actually, they dovetail into some of the points that were discussed earlier, specifically by Mark from eFurnish and George from the Sole Supplier. So affiliate marketing is much more than CPA. And this was a conversation that obviously formed part of that panel discussion a lot earlier, looking beyond last click CPA performance. We actually captured the data. So we didn't get data from all of the 12 networks. Some of the questions that we asked the networks to fill in were optional. But when we did collect data, and this was for the majority of those companies, we asked them, what % of your brand spend that you're capturing is actually going through non-last click CPA, i.e. things like tenancy and CPC deals? And it was actually 13.3%. So 1 in 8 pounds that is spent by brands on our last click CPA channel is actually not on last click CPA. And that's really powerful. That's actually accounts for £221 million if you kind of extrapolate that percentage. Yep. So that's kind of a really powerful amount, right? £221 million. But how often do we report on what that £221 million is going on? George was talking about it, Mark was talking about it earlier. And this is really, really useful context for us. But generally speaking, when we talk about our channel, because we are so fixated on the performance element, us being the original performance marketing channel, we typically don't focus in on the kind of more brand building elements of what we do. Now, one piece of data that we collected from a qualitative survey that we did with publishers last year is we asked them for all of the payment types they received in the last 12 months. So this data is it's nearly a year old. It's probably a data point that we will try and collect when we do a qualitative survey over the next couple of months. But as you can see, going from the top, so 75% say that they received CPA fixed cost per acquisition payments. Actually, I was surprised by how low that was. I would have expected it to be in excess of 90%. But you can see going down, we've got tenancy, CPL, email. So whilst we might think this is a relatively new thing, it's firmly embedded in lots of affiliate models and lots of affiliate businesses, and lots of them are hugely reliant on additional non-CPA payments. So the opportunity, I think, is that CPA ignores contribution beyond last click. We also collected the volume of sales and the volume of clicks as well. So we were able to say that actually on average the affiliate channel converts at around about 5% click to sale. So 95% of clicks do not convert, but we know that they add value, right? We know that they are shaping decisions and they're informing intent. And we know that they add value. So how are we as an industry doing better to actually contextualize what that means? Publishers are clearly running multi-channel and multi-routes to market campaigns. So how can we support them better? Now, reporting platforms within networks are getting better. I've been to a couple of sessions recently, one with Impact, one with AWIN, where they talked about building out a lot more around their campaign reporting, where if you are a publisher and you decide to run a campaign, and it might be a multi-channel campaign, how you can report all of those numbers back to kind of like a blended or a hybrid effective cost per acquisition. So we need more of that, because the more data there is, the more that we can have informed decisions around the effectiveness of our budgets. So that £221 million of affiliate spend was on non-last click CPA. £250 million we're not accounting for properly. Imagine running your marketing budget with that kind of blind spot. So that, I think, is a challenge for everybody in the room. And that neatly brings me on to the second point. So one thing I think that we're typically missing, and one thing that we're all guilty of, including myself, it's included in our numbers, is the fact that we classify badly within our channel. And what do I mean by classify badly? So I'm firmly of the opinion that if we were better at contextualizing, had a more three-dimensional approach to how we talk about affiliate activity, that we could probably unlock additional budgets. Now, this won't come as any surprise to anybody. It's the funnel, so you've got like top of funnel, bottom of funnel, and I know that you can argue that different affiliates play different roles at different stages, you know, affiliates across the whole funnel. So this isn't anything that is particularly new. It's pretty crude, but it's generally how we understand affiliates. Now, if we look at who was driving the most growth in 2024, this isn't volume, this is percentage increase. So the top 3 growing affiliate types were tech partners, sub-networks, and CSS partners in the UK. All single digit. I think sub-networks was just shy of 10% of brand spend, but all the other 2 were single digit. And these are adding to the complexity of the affiliate mix. So if I show you, oh, by the way, so in terms of, we actually had 2 affiliate types that declined in terms of spend: vouchers and price comparison. Vouchers down by about 7%. And price comparison by about 4%. But I'm going to show you why that voucher number is actually potentially a bit misleading. So we asked all the networks to fit around our taxonomy. So you can see, hopefully you can see it on the screens. It runs from cashback, content, vouchers, sub-networks, price comparison, CSS, social, tech partners, and other. And other, typically, it was anyone obviously less than 3%. You've got in there email, paid search, programmatic. But as you can see, the largest amount of spend is going on cashback, loyalty, and reward. Content next on 25%, and vouchers actually only on 10%, which I think surprised a lot of people when we produced these numbers. Now, so getting back to my point around classification, why it's problematic. So vouchers here is 10%. So you would think, as a brand, around about 1 in 10 pounds of what I spend is going to go on a voucher. Actually, that's not the case. Because another question we asked is, what % of all of your sales that you track included a voucher code redemption? And as you can see, it's 23%. It dropped slightly. It was 25% in 2023. 2024, it's 23%. Now, that's compared to the 10% reported. So automatically, we've got a classification problem here, right? Because if you are thinking, what is a voucher code sale? Is it an affiliate that makes use of voucher codes, or is it an affiliate who just has a voucher code platform? So that gives you one indication about one of the problematic areas of our affiliate classification. Another one is all the different routes to market that affiliates use. Now, I mentioned that affiliates are kind of becoming multi-format, multimedia partners. Last year, we asked affiliates to select. We had a pre-selected list, but they could add to it as well. We asked affiliates to share with us all of the different routes to market that they use. And on average, they use 4.4. So you can see in indication here, obviously it's a word cloud, so the bigger the words, the more often those things were mentioned. Now, what for me is really interesting here is emails and newsletters is right in the middle. It's clearly by far the biggest route to market that different affiliates use. However, if I go back to this, email doesn't appear at all. So we don't actually go out and talk about email really within the affiliate channel from an affiliate type point of view. However, it's clearly being used by affiliates. Again, an issue with our classification problem. We're not being three-dimensional in how we talk about the affiliates that are driving traffic and sales. Now, bear with me on this one. This is quite a complex chart. So I was thinking, how can I start to talk about what an alternative would look like? How could we better classify affiliates? Because it's fine pointing out the problem, and I think we've been talking about this problem for a little while now, but how can we solve it? What's an example? So this is actually data, and this isn't me kind of blowing my own trumpet. This is data from about 10 years ago. So it has been done in pockets for years and years and years. This was a major UK retailer. And by the way, I found this data from an old presentation when I was at AWIN, which I had saved on my laptop. This is data from a huge UK retailer. And I used to run the data team at AWIN. And one of the things that, so we used to take on different data projects according to different kind of client requests. And this was a big blue chip brand for AWIN. And we wanted to understand better what value is being added by the different affiliates. So We took, on a certain day, we took 1,500 sales that were recorded. They were new to book customers. They'd never shopped with them, or at least they hadn't shopped with them in the previous year. So new to book customers initially referred through the affiliate channel. And what we did, because it was a long-term project, is we tracked their performance across the next 12 months. So they kept giving us data, because it wasn't data that we were collecting as a network. We were relying on them sharing the data. And what we found is, on average, those customers came back 3.3 times. If those customers had downloaded the app, they came back 5 times, so 50% increase on non-app customers. Only £100,000 of that was tracked back through another affiliate, i.e. they initially came through an affiliate link and they came back through an affiliate link. Around about £2/3 of £1 million was tracked coming back through either another channel or direct to site or through the app. And an additional revenue value of £511. So again, this demonstrated the value of the channel overall, but how could you then use this? So they would know, obviously, which affiliates generated these 1,500 customers. So it's a very easy stretch beyond there to say, well, actually, let's break those 1,500 down into maybe our top 10, our top 20 affiliates, and let's apportion them a value score based around whether they under or over-index on these numbers. And that's just kind of an indication about how you could potentially reclassify your affiliates beyond the kind of old, broken monikers that we use to better understand who you want to work with and how they can add value. So I genuinely believe this is a problem. It's something I want to bring all the networks together when we collect the data next year. Classification is broken. Those categories don't reflect how modern affiliates actually work. Partners are hybrid, they're multi-role, they're cross-funnel, they're three-dimensional. We need a new language and we need a better classification in order to really bring them to life and hopefully secure some additional brand budgets. So this next point is one that we've been talking about for years, and it goes in waves. And I firmly believe that the more transparent we are, the greater that we build trust with brands, and that trust leads to bigger budgets. So some of you may have seen that we released in May, it's a free guide, anyone can go on and download it. We released a sub-networks guide. Now, sub-networks, if you remember from, I was talking about the top 3 growth affiliate types, sub-networks are up there with 18% year-on-year growth. And I was moderating a panel back in May, and I asked of the panel, 18% growth, is that actually a good news story? Because one of the things I've definitely noticed is about 10 years ago, we did a matrix of subnetworks. This is an industry thing that happened. We did a subnetwork, a matrix, and there were 7 subnetworks on it. When we came round to doing the guide this time round, we reached out to around about 50 subnetworks. So there's been a massive increase, a massive influx in the number of subnetworks that are out there. And typically, and this may be something that is familiar to people in the room, a lot of them are coming from outside Europe, a lot of them are coming from Asia, and a lot of them are bringing incredibly damaging traffic. And this is something that it's kind of happened on our watch that we haven't really paid enough attention to. And it isn't just subnetworks, and I'm not singling out subnetworks. There are really good subnetworks that are out there. And we have one that is a member of a member of the APMA. But layer it with things like fake codes, general compliance, and unethical activity. We've kind of sleptwalked a little bit into this. Networks all have their compliance and network quality teams. But a lot of those teams are also responsible for affiliate approvals. And if you ask any network, they will say the number of affiliate approvals has gone through the roof in the last few years. It kind of really escalated during COVID. And if they're doing that, then how much time have they got left to spend on unethical activity? So it's something that I'm quite passionate about. I had a meeting with my governance board last week, and we talked about the idea of a compliance task force. One thing, so for starters, I talked about if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. We don't know how big the issue is. Is it 1%, 5%, 10%, 20%? We know with programmatic and we know with email what the problems are, because those numbers have been well documented. I don't think it's anywhere near as big as the issue with programmatic, but I don't know. So one thing I want is an honest conversation with those networks about the scale of the problem they're experiencing. We are building out a shared compliance tool. It was something that came up when we had a conversation with a number of voucher code sites last May. So it's a little bit been put on the back burner, but I have spoken to a lawyer, and he said it's feasible for us to have a compliance reporting tool if we do it the right way. We are going to be working on some additional subnetwork and voucher projects as well. And I firmly believe that this is something that we can actually take ownership for. I also think we can be honest about it. The affiliate industry is everything. It's all digital in microcosm, right? So we're going to be, and also it's a balancing act between we want to be open and we want loads of companies to come in, but we obviously have to have checks and balances there. And there's always going to be stuff that slips through. So we need to be honest about the fact that there's, with a ever-changing digital landscape, these companies are going to come in and we're going to have to be on top of this stuff. And some of this stuff we will only find after it becomes a problem. But as I say, I firmly believe that if we build a positive story around affiliate trust, we have wider digital context. And as a channel, we don't need to worry about certain things, right? So this is one of my favorite pieces of research that I've ever seen. And it was a piece, so the Guardian newspaper, the Guardian Online, bought their own traffic. They wanted to understand, if I'm buying programmatic ads as an advertiser, how much do I, as the Guardian, actually then get? So they spent £100, and this is on programmatic. And as you can see, they kind of identified what's called the ad tech tax. So the agency took 10%. And then you've got the trading desk, the data management platform, the demand side platform, the ad exchange, the supply side platform, and then they as a publisher ended up with £29. So 70 quid was 60 quid was disappearing into the ether, being shared around all this kind of whole opaque network of companies. We don't suffer with this as an industry. We're all pretty much upfront and pretty honest about who gets what. And also, we know that we have really, really powerful ROI figures to stick to as well. So this, for me, is, again, another example about how we can separate ourselves out from programmatic and make a really strong case for our industry. And why is all this really, really important? So this is very much specific to the UK audience. So some of you will hopefully be aware that there's a new data use and access law that came into place about 6 weeks ago. And the framing of it is it's our opportunity as the UK to have a more business-friendly approach to digital marketing, and we're able to do it post-Brexit. So it's kind of seen as, let's have a sensible conversation about how we do digital marketing better. And as I mentioned earlier, the government is desperate for growth. They are business-friendly in terms of a lot of the conversations they're having. The ICO, the Information and Commissioner's Office, who you might be aware of, they have been informed, they're an independent regulator, but they've been informed to take a more business-friendly approach to how they do business. So there isn't anything specific within the new data law that references affiliate marketing. However, broadly speaking, we're quite positive about what the implications for it might be. So if you go onto the APMA, you'll be able to see, I've written a couple of articles about it. There's a policy briefing, if you remember, which is just accessible for members. But the ICO has recently put out 2 requests for views, and a lot of them, and they're based around something that we will submit to them, which is, how do we do digital marketing better in this country? So if we can go out and talk about us being trustworthy, transparent, if we can deal with all those compliance issues, we have a really, really powerful opportunity to make a really strong case as to why we are a data-focused, privacy-first channel. The Data Act opens a door for low-risk attribution to be recognised, but we have to get our house in order and lobby for content-based, privacy-first, transparent marketing, and this is our kind of real moment to shine. So I've got one. How am I doing for time? Oh, fine. Right. Okay. This is my last point, I promise. So the power of peak. So this shouldn't come as a surprise. This is a very brief last point from me. This shouldn't come as any surprise to anybody that peak trading for your affiliate marketing is obviously really powerful. Show of hands, who's already started doing Christmas planning or Q4 planning? One person, 2 people, 3 people. I mean, July is typically when, if you work within the affiliate channel, typically July is when you start seeing the media packs being released and all of the placements start being booked in July and August. So it's already started. So one of the data points that we collected was, we wanted to understand, we know that Black Friday has bled into October, and it's kind of that huge bump for Black Friday weekend has been slightly leveled out. But we wanted to know what amount of revenue and sales went through the 4-day window of Black Friday, so Black Friday through to Cyber Monday with the weekend included. And I mentioned to you earlier that 1 in 10 pounds that's spent through e-commerce. Around that Black Friday weekend, it's actually 13%, or about 1 in 8 pounds. So the affiliate channel over-indexes. Now, a lot of you might think, well, that kind of makes sense. But for me, that's really powerful because it helps us start, when we're having conversations, you can start to talk to brands about, actually, you need to invest more because this is where consumers are going through affiliate links in order to transact. And why is that? So affiliates, we know, go on a bit of, consumers, we know, go on a bit of a feeding frenzy around Black Friday. And one of the interesting things was when I was at AWIN, we measured the performance of brands that did Black Friday and brands that didn't. And even brands that do nothing around Black Friday see a massive increase in traffic and an increase in sales. So regardless of whether you're interested in Black Friday or not, it still has an impact on your traffic and conversion. And one of the reasons that I think affiliates are so well placed to take advantage of Black Friday is this idea of a value exchange, right? Affiliates have built out consumer empowerment models. And there are all these bits in here in the middle. And there's so much noise out there at the moment that the consumer needs, they need guides, they need trusted companies that they can go to where they know they can find the best offers, the best deals, the best advice. And brands want to tap into that. So we're at the opportunity where we have the opportunity to really frame a lot of the affiliate models as adding that value back to consumers. And I'm reminded of this is quite an old quote now, but this quote from Terry Lee, who was the former CEO of Tesco. Obviously, he's talking about it from his loyalty card perspective, but I think it's still a quote that resonates with a lot of people, which is the true source of loyalty is to create benefits for people. And that, for me, really encapsulates the power of different affiliate models. So, coming back to my earlier point, Q4, 2025 could be a bit of a bloodbath for brands. We only really find out in January how well they did and whether they can keep the lights on. But the stakes have never been higher. Brands will invest in those they trust, and the golden quarter will be our golden opportunity. So that's everything from me. If you're interested in the full report, it's free if you're a member. We are charging for it. As I mentioned, we're a small not-for-profit, so we're looking for revenue. If you're interested in signing up, then please go to the website. There is a free version you can download, which is about 8 pages long. Again, it's on the homepage of our website. Includes all of these things. And finally, from me, if you are interested in finding out more about the APMA, we have a quarterly member meeting. And we'd like to extend it out to companies and individuals who are interested in just finding out a little bit more. So if you are interested in coming along, our next meeting is this time next week, the 23rd of July. Please drop me an email. It is just down the road at the AWIN office. The AWIN are hosting us this time around, so it's about a 10-minute walk from here. And we'd love to have you come along. If not, do sign up for our newsletter and you'll get all of our updates on a regular basis. But that's everything for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kevin. That was very, very insightful. Does anybody have any questions for him before he hops off stage? Any burning questions about the affiliate marketing industry? I think he kind of covered it pretty well. So thank you very much. Speak to Kevin. Oh, there is a question. Yeah, hold on. Yeah.
One question maybe now. Hi, Kevin. Regarding the comparison of the spend numbers for coupon website, it was 10%. And then you compared it with a 23% number like of redemptions of codes and coupons that you saw. I think even there's some numbers from eMarketer where they say it's even higher, that like up to 60% of all sales are done with some sort of coupon or discount. Do you think it might be due to some advertisers on average lowering the commissions for coupons and then deflating the average spend for coupon websites, but as they're still very effective on the last click, they are more represented in the sales numbers. So do you think this might be a factor, or do you still believe it's some kind of mistracking or misalignment?
I mean, if you look over time, typically, and this is talking very generally, typically the average commission rate is coming down across the board. That does tend to skew more towards vouchers, I think. Obviously, typically brands will be looking at what their average margin is, and if you're giving away 25% on a code, then there's a very legitimate reason why you might not necessarily have as much to spend on commission. Some people will say that it's, it's a cynical way of, because they are typically premised towards the conversion, it's a cynical way of actually saving money on the channel. I think that a lot of those content sites that are using vouchers actually probably earn more commission than the voucher code sites. When we looked at the ROI for retail, because we captured data across different sectors, so travel, retail, telco, and finance. And when you looked at the ROI by different sectors, the ROI for content sites, and again, very crude classification, so you take all this stuff with a bit of a pinch of salt. When you look at the ROI for retail, for content sites, it's actually only 8-to-1. So it's significantly lower, still very good ROI, but significantly lower ROI. And I think that broadly speaking, you have, whether it's through design or by accident, I think you kind of have to read into that brands just want to work with content sites, whatever that means, more. And so they're willing to spend more, whether that includes a voucher redemption or not.
Any other questions? All right, thank you very much, Kevin. Let's give him a round of applause.